Topic 6, Lesson 3, More Patterns and Expressions. Today you will write and evaluate expressions involving multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Let's dive into this on page 152. Make sure you have your book, notebook, and pencil. All right, it says, more patterns and expressions. How can you write and evaluate expressions with variables? Let's take a look at the example. Write an expression for finding the total cost of a service call. Total cost of a service call from Mateo's electrical repair. Evaluate the expression for service calls that last 2 hours, 4 hours, and 5 hours. Well, if we look at the picture here, it says that the service call is $55 plus a fee, $55 fee, plus $65 per hour. So it's going to depend on how many hours they work to determine the total cost. So it says here in step 1 on the next page in your book, the total cost is the fee plus the charge per hour times the number of hours. So write an expression for the total cost. It says let H represent the number of hours. So they wrote that expression here. We have the $55, because now we have two numbers, which before we were only working with one. Now we have two numbers. We have the $55 plus the $65 times the number of hours. Okay, so what does that look like when you plug in the numbers? Let's take a look at step 2. It says, evaluate the expression for various numbers of hours. Substitute each value for H, which is what I said, in the expression 55 plus 65H. All right, so if you had 2 hours, notice how they use parentheses here. Why did they do 65 times 2 in parentheses? Well, hopefully you're thinking about this as we do this. We have to multiply those two first in order to get the right answer, because we need to know how much per hour. Then you can add the 55. All right, so once they did that here, okay, they got 130, and then they could add 55 plus that, what was in parentheses, okay, to get $185. So they did that for each one, for 4 hours and for 5 hours. They put it in parentheses. So that's something we're going to talk about too as we continue into the lesson in this video, and it's something that's very important because you can get different answers if you change the parentheses or take them away. Okay, so let's take a look at that on the guided practice. All right, get your pencils ready. Write an algebraic expression for each word phrase. Let X represent the number. Okay, so it says 3 times a number plus 10. So I know that there are two operations, there are two numbers, and then there is this variable here. Okay, so 3 times a number, we could say, I'm going to write over here to the side, 3x, because that means 3 times, plus 10. Now that could be interpreted different ways, but if I read this phrase the way I read it, and there's a comma there, right here, let me highlight it in red. There's a little comma there that helps me know this is the first part of the expression, and then we add the 10. Let's look at number 2 now. It says, for less than a number, that makes a difference, times 2. So I know it's subtraction and multiplication. So 4 less than a number times 2. Since it says 4 less than a number, I can just go ahead and write subtract 4, because I know it's less than a number. And then we have this number over here, and it's times 2. So I kind of went backwards with that one. So I could write it like that, okay, or I could have done, like I said, that number minus 4, put those in parentheses, and then multiply that by 2. So see how it can be interpreted differently. You can get different answers once you are ready to plug in numbers, and so that could be confusing. Okay, number 3, it says 8 plus a number times 5, so addition and multiplication. Okay, so let's write that down here. Oops, number 3. Okay, so 8 plus a number, and then we could put that in parentheses because it says that first, times 5. Okay, but it could also be interpreted like this. 8 plus a number, and then that 5 times that number. That's the same thing, but you get different answers when you do that, but it can be interpreted 2 different ways. So go ahead and try number 4 on your own. 40 minus 2 times the number. See what you get. Okay, I'm going to move on to number 5. So pause and do number 4. Okay, number 5 says, how much does Mateo Electrical Repair charge for 3 hours of work? So you're going to take that same formula from earlier that they used, the 55 plus 65h, okay, and that h is going to now be 3 hours, so you have to figure out how you'd figure that out. Okay, in 6 and 7, that's something we worked on in the previous lesson, but now that there's 2 numbers, you just got to add the 2 numbers, but you know what to do with n if you know n is 2 or n is 3. So go ahead and figure those 2 out. And then number 8 says, does 3n plus 18 have the same meaning as 3 times n plus 18? Okay, and that's something we've discussed before as well. Do these mean the same? And then explain why. Okay, do your best. Good luck. You got this.